This day 585 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Like the sponsor coming share more of the Arukh HaShulchan, please contact me directly. Be very greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Hilchos Eruvin, Siman Shem Mem Sif Tes to Tesvav. Tes. B'daf Kodim Rishus Yachid Yesh B'Kelim. The halacha which is yachid is possible to have in kelim if they have the proper dimensions. Avokar ain't din karmelis b'kelim, but there's no din of the karmelis which is running the rabbanon in a kelim. In kelim come klishu rechava arba ve'im gava asar, such as the vessel which is 4x4 in dimensions but not 10 high. They'll get a karmelis when she's bar. This is the definition of karmelis as we shall see. Ain't karmelis b'kelim. There's no karmelis in vessels. Lo gazer rabbanon l'bitulim mitoras kli. The rabbanon did not eliminate from that keli, the status is a keli, or the kelihu, since it's a keli, and it doesn't have the Rishus Yachid is the significance to Mevato Shem Kli, not Karmelis. And by definition, it's being Karmelis, it's butted to Rishus in which it's standing. In other words, in Rishus Rabim, it's Rishus Rabim. Rishus Yachid, it's going to be Rishus Yachid. Koshkin, she put Palchos Mi Arba, and certainly is so if it's less than 4 Tvachim by 4 Tvachim. The Kli Mechubel Karka have a karmelis. However, if the Kli is connected to the ground, then it is a karmelis. The Kli Mechubel Karka, then it's no longer considered a vessel. So therefore, it has the status of a karmelis. The Intershach Lidin told us of Chibur, there's nothing to do with the halachas of Tumatara, where something was first not connected to the ground, and then you connect to the ground, you have a close. You have it considered to be still separate or not. Even for other purposes, it's like it's still separate from the ground. Once it's connected, until to Shabbos, in terms of Keren Shabbos, it's considered to be like the ground, because you can't move it like a normal vessel. Only when the keli is Yachid ain't anybody in karmelis, it doesn't have a little karmelis. If it's actually standing in a karmelis, anybody in karmelis, it's a karmelis. Famous shall be a mine, therefore a boat in the water. The other body in karmelis considered to be a karmelis commotion, as we shall see. But Siman Shin Nun Hey I Yen Sham. By the time Pashas, it's simple. I feel in the Vatlu or Rishus Medasham, even if we nullify it vis-a-vis the Rishus in which it's standing, I can't have a karmelis. It's still karmelis. How Yamba Nor have a karmelis commotion bar. Seas and rivers are karmelis, as we shall see. Yud Haksoim Akiva Rishus Yachid, the walls which surround Rishus Yachid, Gam Agabeim Dinok Rishus Yachid, even on top of the Rishus Yachid, even they're not 4 Tvachim thick. Kavachomer, to make another area, the cavity inside Rishus Yachid, they still make themselves Rishus Yachid. So to the air, Rishus Yachid goes all the way up to the sky. They're not like Rishus Ram Karmelis, which are only up to 10 Tvachim. Therefore, if you stuck a post into Rishus Yachid Gavoa Me'amos, which is 100 amos high, Zarg Rishus Ram with 12 for Rishus Ram and Nachal Gabam, and it's resting on top of that pole, which is a pretty neat trick. Chayav, you're liable for being motzi from Rishus Ram to Rishus Yachid. It's kind of Gavoa by Rishus Rabim, but if you put a 12 pole Rishus Rabim, Nasan Baroshal Traskan on the top of a tray, Shagavoa Sora Chava Dalid, in which is 10 amos high by 4x4 Tvachim. It's not just a tray, but rather it's like a box extending down. It's have a chance to Rishus Yachid. But what's underneath is not Rishus Yachid. And if the Traskal itself is not 10 Tvachim high, even though it's 4x4, lo have Rishus Yachid. We don't. It's not Rishus Yachid. Although we say in Hilchos Shabbos, good asay mechitzta, a wall of 10 Tvachim extends all the way up to the sky. We don't say good achis mechitzta, that a wall wall extends down towards the ground, even if it's 10 Tvachim, it still doesn't extend down to the ground. Became a little habit of mechitza shows glowing boking, but since it's a wall on the which kids can get through. This any place where the kids can get through there. Don't say that the wall continues downwards. And that is the height of open space necessary in order to be considered Gedolim Bokim Bo is 3 tefachim from the ground. So to a pillar which is 10 tefachim high and 4 by 4 in dimensions. But at its base is not 4 tefachim. A few lekabdias gedoyim, even the kids don't go through. Lavi tachtav al rishus hayachid, underneath is not rishus hayachid ela gabav, but only on top of it. And this is specifically when there is in the narrow part, which extends towards the ground, a thickness of 3 tvachim. Because that one tefach between 3 and 4, no goat can fit in underneath. And but if let's say you have a thick pillar standing on a very thin post, and there is more than 3 tvachim gap, and there is the post itself is less than 3 tvach in extent. Just a then that's the same thing as the Traskal 100 numbers up. Since the kids can go through, and therefore underneath is not Rishus Yachid. No, not just underneath Rishus Yachid. No, not just underneath. The thing itself. Let's go back over here. We're talking about this case. It's 10 by 4 by 4 at the top, but at the bottom it's not 4 by 4, right? So as long as it's 3 by 3 at the bottom, there's not enough room for a kedi to get in. So therefore, it's going to be a rishus hayachid, and even if it's more than 3 tvachim off the ground. But if it's less than 2, because the giddy can't get in there. But if it's less than 3 tvachim, it says mashu here. If the post which is holding up the top is less than 3 tvachim, allows a giddy to get in. So then even on top of it, because it doesn't have a length of 10 tvachim of actual thickness, but 4 by 4 only if you include the bottom of and that bottom is going Bokimbo. So undermines the whole thing. Okay, holes that come off Rishus Yachid are like Rishus Yachid. Holes in a wall, which front on Rishus Yachid, whether they are big holes, or small holes, whether they're high holes, or low holes, they have the status of a Rishus Yachid. Because Baal Chotzer uses stuff there, put stuff like in those holes. But the holes which are on the wall facing out from the Rishus Yachid, they don't go over and Baruchim. They have a special halacha according to their height and according to the width. These part of similar above, and that's going to be clarified later on. I'm feeling a little bit guilty about the end of Sifyud, so I want to draw a little picture here to make sure we all understand what's going on. We're going back to the end of Sifyud, and this is the case. So, if this is down here, these are more than 3 tvachim, right? Then in that little space over there, a gedi can't go. So therefore, even though it's only Rishus Hayachid, it's only 10 tvachim from the top to the ground, it's still Rishus Hayachid because it's not Ma'anam Chitzish Gedolim Bokim Bo. But if this thing down here is much narrower, like that, so then, of course, Gedolim Bokim Bo and cancels the Rishus Hayachid. Hope that helps. Yud base. Koser ben Ramah b'seed base. Yeshvin beinim be'elu arba tvachim hein ba'alach sonim. In other words, you need 5.6 tvachim, right? Because if you take a 4 by 4 square and divided into two triangles, the hypotenuse is 5.6. According to the sheet of Chazal, the square root of 2 is 1.4. K'mosh chesed l'kama tzin shim tes ad kan l'shono. Klomar, meaning the l'kama is bar later on. It's going to say the chol dam yesh arba amos shusram sholo tal b'hem. Every person has 4 amos shusram which you can carry. They arba amos shuram peimal son. Those 4 amos are actually 5.6 amos because it's they with their the hypotenuse of the two triangles. There must be a word for it. I'm exclaiming with the that's like they measure Lahavdil television screens, right? An 8-inch television screen is really a screen which goes from one corner. Sucker shop. It goes from one corner to another corner, 8 inches. Not that's how they measure an 8-inch television screen, wherever televisions they're measuring. So here it's the same thing. It came to Amsa. So since every amma in the square is Amsa Sheikhum Shabalach Sono is an amma and 2/5, 1.4 on the diagonal. Diagonal. I mean, Mela dal Arba Amos, so 4 Amos needs Basu Shwanacham Makomashim. You add 8/5. When it's 5, when you actually carry not 4 amos but 5.6 amos. And Hachinami, so to here, Gabi Rochav Arba Tvachim, Tzarcha Rochim Achson, you require the width with the diagonal. Vainachamisha Tvachim Ushlosha Chumshe Tepach 5.6. The day is the Choshim Shoshabas Sichim Lachshov Gam Galachson. So again, it's 4x4 would not be enough. It really has to be 5x6 by 5x6. Timiana Rabbeinu Ramah. I'm astounded at the Ramah. Shein Zel Das Rabbeinu Tam Beirubin. V'Rashi Sham, V'Rashi B'Amatei Sham Yuma Samach Zayin Dachut Varzeh. So I should read that's Rabbeinu Tam's opinion, and these other Rishonim rejected it. V'Gam Divrei Ramah so pretty based on located also Ramah doesn't hold the way. Shkasa Lohaf the Dawud Amish Shus Rabim writes in that which is Dawud Amish Shus Rabim that came in the Mutter Leilach Lo Utak the B'Chom Rubah Zeh. Since he can carry in this entire square, Mimela Shemamtato Gambal Achson, Achson also carries its diagonal. Pila Ema Birchayv Achiavir Gam Alachson, they're not liable until you go the diagonal. Einstein. Painting Rishus. That's not. It has to do with the carrying and nothing to do with what makes a Rishus. Nearly Dafra Ben Ramah Lamra Chush They says a Chumra. He only doesn't mean they need 5x6 by 5x6. He's saying that if you some way to result in a chumrah, you should be machmir like that, but not to be makel. That's Rishus only if it's 5.6 by 5.6. Mishabura says some achronim rejected this entire opinion from halacha, but he said, "What's the chumrah which possibly could exist? Gavi chaberes like by the hive. Shom Gemara zar chaberes Rishus Rabim. You tossed a hive. Rishus Rabim it was 10 tvachim high, v'enrochava shisha, and it's not 6 tvachim wide. Chayav, you're liable. The Chava Shisha, if it's 6 volume wide, it's potter. That is just with Neatzma and Chum. Because that's just by itself. Also, there, it's a Chumrah, if we say it's only just 5.6, or in this case, 6 volume. Because that means that below that it's an object, and when you toss it from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Rabim, so you're tossing an object, not tossing Rishus. Zeb Chumrah. For that you need the diagonal. To be lenient and assume that a place which is 4 tvachim by 10 tvachim by 4 tvachim, to assume it's a shus yachid, not assume it's a shus yachid, like a makkah patur, but like a makkah patur, which is not proper. Shir chas shom omar kain, chas shom to say this. Lach grab me royal poskim and so kain. Most of the poskim not say this. I should qualify that. It's not 5.6 by 5.6, even it's 5.6. It's a circle of 5.6. The diameter of the circle is 5.6. Not that it has to be a square 5.6 by 5.6, but a circle which has a diameter of 5.6. Okay, if we held that way. And that's what halacha is also by the Dawud Amish Rabim. It's really a circle of 5.6. You doubt. Ezer Rishus Rabim. What's Rishus Rabim? Shinga b'Brisa and the Brisa. That it is. Sartio Platia Gedola, a highway or a plaza which is large, and streets which empty into this to these highways and plazas. That is a complete Rishus Rabbi. Sartir Rechov, Sartir is a street, Perush Mesil Shokin Bamir Melir, an intercity highway, Ayin Sham. Some for us, like our streets which go from city to city. Uplatia, Perush Rechov Shol Ir, plaza of the city, Shisham is Kappas, where people gather for doing business. And those who Fulashim and the open streets, Perush Shem Rechovim, Shish say Amma, they are 16 amos wide, and they open on both sides of Sratio to that highway. Ayin Sham. That's Their streets and buildings not like ours. The Makom Adiros the place where they live were inside Chatzeros, like you can still see some places in Yerushalayim today. And many Chatzeros would open up onto a mavui which had 3 walls. The alley, which you could have access and egress to the street from the Chatzeros. You're only in the middle of the city. Chov Gedoyla was a very large street, Vinikre Sacha, which is called the highway, the high road. In fact, in England, I'll take the high road, and you take the low road. The high road, or perhaps nowadays, street would be the same idea, but that was what a high road was. Or that's called Sratia because all the alleys converge on that street. And this street was completely open, in which you travel from city to city. There was also a large place, like our marketplaces, but it's completely open air. Which people gather for business, and that's called the plaza. And there were streets whose both sides were open to Sratio, and they were also like Rishus Rabbi. What happens is that the Chatzeros with all the alleys, Irvu biyachad, they would make an Arab together. Oh, kol movinats, or every alley by itself. They would carry within them. But the major thoroughfare and the major plaza, and the streets which went from Sratio to Sratio, an Arab would not be infected with them. The Arab was just Rabbin, which was a pest of the you can't use the frame of the framework of an opening. You need doors. As we shall later see. Tezvav. The parameter of condition Rishus Rabbi the street has to be 16 amos wide to be Rishus Rabbi, which was not much. A street which could hold 2 cars parked on each side, and 2 cars can pass each other in the middle, has 16 amos, which is 24 feet according to Reb Chaim Noah. Kedisa b'Gemara, the Chaim Rishus Rabbi Rechovo Tezayin Amma, and that which we know Rishus Rabbi is 16 amos. Garmina Lava Mishka, we learn from the Mishka, with the Golos, how the wagons traveled. The Amida, the Dinosainim, Dinas Russia, in Russia, that's Yud Beis Arshin, Shem, Dalit Sozin, Gmoshin, Vyar Machos, Mishin Simon, Shuches, Ayin Sham. The Gamsa Shloim Makur, the Rishus Rabbi cannot be covered over. Penn Station, the Rishus Rabbi Doraisa, it could be Rishus Rabbi Doraisa because it has more than 600,000 people traveling there every day. That's more than 16 amos, but it's Makuret. It has a roof, so it's not roof. It could be Rishus Rabbi Doraisa. The Rishus Rabbi Makuret and Rishus Rabbi Edom Diglim Midbar. A covered Rishus Rabbi is not a true Rishus Rabbi. It's not like it was the open air arrangement in the Midbar. There also can't be a wall surrounding the city, or har, or mountain which surrounds the city, or charit, or a trench, so 10 tefachim high, or omek, or deep, and with 4 tefachim being the width of the trench. Even there's a wall around. If they're gates which are directly opposite each other, or Moshe holds Mefulashim is not necessarily directly opposite, but there's a thoroughfare from one to the other. But most Acharim seem to say that it means there's a direct line from one to the other. Right? And that's what Shun says. They have to be on an equal, on the same line. So the gates are opposite each other, they have no doors. Or affiliation blossoms, even have doors. El Shani Nolos. They're not locked at night. Habim Shusarabim, these are the Shusarabim. And the entire road which goes from gate to gate is Shusarabim. Vafilu Rak does Achasmula Balayla. But even though only one door is locked at night, Kankin Vatel Shusarabim, also in the gates of Shusarabim, came Shin and Fulish because it's no longer straight to the city. Vrak Lossos and Nulos of Valu Shusarabim, but only locked doors, close the Shusarabim, seal for Shusarabim, make a Shusayachid, Avul Tzur Sapesa. The form of a doorway is not sufficient. Mamul Tzur Sapesa. What goes Tzur Sapesa going to do? Harema Fulashu. You can go through the gates. That's no point. When you get through the gates, so the Tzur Sapesa is meaningless. The doors obviously have a framework of the door to hold them up. They're not locked, it's nothing. Unless it's doors not locked at night, it would be Rishus Harabim. Back to the sea, Yerushalayim had mountains around it. It wasn't not complete. There are many places where there were gaps in the hills. If you look in the because otherwise the Taka would not need doors.